Hey, g'day, and welcome everybody to a Rapyd live stream. Today we've got a couple of big things to talk about. Primarily, we're going to be talking about BuddyBoss App, but we're also here coming live from WordCamp Europe in Italy, in Torino. And Philip, you've been to a WordCamp before, a small one. This is the first big one for you. What was your impressions the first time you encountered a WordCamp?
Hello, Wes. For me, community. It's community. That's the first thing that I noticed when I went to my first WordCamp in Valencia, in Spain, a year ago at this point, and it's incredible. I mean, the community is great, and people are super active. It's of course there are vendors from all over the place, but really it's just a very lively community.
And sort of, I guess, different people come to these events for different reasons. The first time you went, what was the reason for going?
To be a part of the community, honestly, I had kind of taken a step away from the WordPress world a little bit, and I wanted to get back into it, and it was a great way for me to get into it and really become a part of the community. So that was my personal inspiration. I loved it. I had a great time. I did the contributor day. I think is the first day, and then I did the 2 following days, and it was great. I had a great time.
Contributor days are an interesting way for people to give back to the WordPress community. We forget that it's fully open source. It's about people volunteering, putting up their hands. We had Contributor Day today here in Torino. There were 750 people, all in a massive convention center with their laptops out or with their ideas out. Contributing to some code or helping do some documentation, discussing what WordCamp or what WordPress, TV videos are coming next. And again, it was exactly the same feeling. Community, people excited and passionate about this community. Today, we're going to be especially talking about obviously the community that we're very close to, the BuddyBoss community, and in particular, the BuddyBoss app. So we'd like to welcome today both Graham and Thomas. Graham, the managing director of BuddyBoss, and Thomas as well, sitting there over in the corner. He's waving. Thomas is the product manager for the BuddyBoss platform. We're going to be talking today about BuddyBoss app. So let's start that conversation firstly with you, Graham. But before we get into BuddyBoss app, to you as well. You've been to a couple of WordCamps now. Why should someone consider going to a WordCamp?
Absolutely. Yeah, I've been to more of the smaller events, and then last year I went to one of the large ones in WordCamp Asia. Again, huge amount of community, huge amount in understanding the future of WordPress, where it's going, seeing keynotes, seeing Matt and his vision of what's happening with WordPress, but also the wider WordPress industry. The keynotes are invaluable, workshops, but also the collaboration, right? This, for me personally, is a great opportunity for us to catch up with other plugin developers in our space, look at integrations, build relationships in that way. So there's a community part, there's the business part as well, right? How are we going to improve our product? How are we going to improve the BuddyBoss platform through integration? And that's really key to me.
So obviously, BuddyBoss is all about community, reaching out, giving our members and our customers the ability to communicate with their communities. Today we're talking specifically about the big feature, the BuddyBoss app. And we hear a lot about, sort of how apps are created and how they're developed. And what I want to talk about, I guess, firstly, is a little bit about that journey, about what's involved in creating the app and the team that we have behind the challenges that we face.
Absolutely. Well, obviously, this has been a good couple of years journey now at this point. 3 years, actually, because I started when the app launched, and we'd been developing it for close to 3 or 4 years prior to that. And when we started, remember, when BuddyBoss started on the app, we were building it for one-off clients, where now we build it where there's a build that we can offer at a fraction of the price and amplify it so essentially everyone can use the same core functionality. But there's a lot of complexity that happens behind that. Not only do we have to worry about the ever-changing requirements with Apple and Google, SDK updates, library updates, publishing guideline changes, which is an ongoing thing, and I think people forget that ongoing maintenance. but then you've got all the device variations. When we launched the app, for example, there was no island on the iPhone. Now every screen has to get redesigned, every interface redesigned for the island. We've got issues where, like, oh, I've got an iPhone Mini versus the Pro versus the Plus, and then you've got the 10,000 plus Android variations. So it makes development challenging, exciting, sometimes frustrating, especially when it is very unique experiences for specific devices. But there's a lot that goes behind the development. And like I say, we released it 3 years ago, but it was many years in development prior to that. And now we're, more on the mass scale in terms of being able to provide an app that would have cost, tens, if not hundreds of thousands. That's something we can offer at a fraction of the price now on mass.
So we deliver on 2 platforms, Apple and Android. And each of those devices, while they're the same, we carry them around in their pocket, bring unique challenges. I guess let's talk firstly about Apple. What are the unique challenges that Apple devices bring when we're delivering the BuddyBoss app?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is Apple like to control their environment, right? So you need a developer account that has, certain devices that have permissions to them, right? Every single test app has to have an allocated device that has limitations to it. Then you've got the fact that certificates, which is a very complex part. If you were, so prior to me working at BuddyBoss, I did app development. That was, you need a Mac, you have to do a certificate, you have to sign it, you have to send it back, then you get the download. BuddyBoss does that for you. All right, we do that in the cloud with Mac servers to essentially deliver that to you. Then you have provision profiles where you have to get the device ID of your phone, send it to Apple, download the file, sign it, put it into your build. All of that for Apple is a huge, complex task that, again, BuddyBoss handles for you. So you've got that part of the build, let alone sending the build files, bringing them back, even uploading. We have to use Apple's transporter application, which again happens magically for the customers. So you've kind of got that complexity around the build side. Then, like I say, publishing guideline changes, forever kind of evolving rule set, especially in the social space, right? Social apps do have a lot more changes, and between that and in-app purchases, especially at the moment with Apple and all the recent court cases around restrictions of app stores where it can be published, account creation, selling of products with and without permission, which again is an ever-changing and evolving landscape. Right now, we're sitting to see what happens across the world because we have to consider the wider picture. But that is changing very rapidly. And when it changes, you've got to be ready with these updates to make sure that customers can benefit from the full experience.
So the Apple community, obviously, in their ecosystem, controls a lot. Then we go to Android, which on the face of it seems very permissive, sort of sure you can do whatever you want. But we then start hearing people saying, oh, but Android's now saying we have to do this. We have to comply with their new policy or guidelines. How do we keep up with those things?
Yeah, absolutely. I used to laugh because when I deployed my first app, again, prior to BuddyBoss, I deployed my app on iPhone and Android, never tested it on Android, using a different app builder. It never actually worked. No one ever actually tested it. And the first user that had tested went, doesn't work. And then 4 more people, done. It was like, oh, the app just never worked, but it got approved. Android and Google have kind of really pulled back away from that in the last kind of 12 to 18 months. They do manual reviews now. They do spot checks. They are changing that. They're becoming almost more aligned with the way that Apple does in terms of validation. And one of the biggest things that has changed at the start of this year was that if you are an individual account holder on your developer account, you need 20 users to test your app over 14 days. That dramatically increases the time for publishing, for example. Now, we know ways around that. Do an organization account and you can get past that. But that's the stuff you're constantly having to evolve with. And again, Google is trying to improve the quality of those apps. So they are becoming more stringent. They are now asking for, ways to delete the app, way to delete your account if you don't have the app installed. They've changed the way that in-app purchasing works, with subscriptions and base plans, just like Apple have. So they're actually getting closer aligned in terms of how stringent they are on the rules, which is somewhat handy in terms of having it there, but still are far enough apart in other ways.
So obviously building an app is a complex process. But then BuddyBoss turns around every fortnight and releases another update. How do we keep up? And to a certain extent, how do our customers keep up?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this isn't just to the app. I mean, even from our website, we do have fortnightly updates. And again, that is a mixture of new features, enhancements, and of course, bug fixes. As with the WordPress world, people expect a lot of updates frequently, and we do our very best to do that. Our development cycle is 3 weeks. So technically, we're doing it every 3 weeks, but a customer will see updates every 2 weeks. The truth is, you don't have to be at the very forefront of updates. But the longer you leave it, the more likely you're going to have conflicts. So I always recommend customers try to be every 4 to 6 weeks. Maybe you don't want to do an update immediately. You want to see and see if anyone else are reporting issues, of course. Or, as always, do it on a staging site. You can get a staging app. This is vital, especially of those of you who have large environments. Now more than ever, stop doing releases straight to production, especially if you're not testing on Android and iOS. And if there are any core pages or core functionality, if there's something that your app is using all the time, just test it. Build your test app and test it. If you're not going to build a staging site, at least build a test app before you put the release app out there. Too many times we see people build a release app. Once that release app is out, there's no way to roll it back, and there's no way that we can immediately change that and roll it back. It's not the same way in WordPress. We can just submit the old plugin to replace it or roll it back. But once the app is on the App Store, there's no way to roll back on either Apple or Google.
So we've built an app, and obviously we then need to host it. Now, we've spent a lot of time at Rapyd developing a hosting experience specifically tailored to the BuddyBoss app. And I want to bring Philip in. Philip's been spending an amount of time of late talking to BuddyBoss app customers, talking about their performance experience. Was there anything that leapt out at you in the conversations you've had about the performance expectations and what people need?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that's jumped out to me is that people, for the most part, in my experience, don't take into account that they do need more resources for a mobile app. They're looking at it just from the community that they have experience with, in WordPress and the web and the website. But when you layer on mobile app, things can get pretty out of hand pretty quickly. Now, that's not to say you need to get a huge server, but you do need to take these things into account. And I've spent a lot of time having conversations with our customers about this, and I know that the BuddyBoss team has released some updates recently that makes this less of a problem. But that's kind of what I've seen on my end.
Yeah, I think because of the way we've architected the Rapyd servers, we understood the needs of the BuddyBoss app. We understood the fact that when a BuddyBoss customer uses an app, the experience of the customers is very different to the way that they access their web browser. Was there any particular customer that you've been talking with, and we don't have to mention names here, but is there any particular customer needs that, really leapt out at you when you're in the conversations?
I'm trying to think off the top of my head related to the app. Again, I think the biggest thing is just accounting for those extra resources. But like you said, the way that people interact with a mobile app is very different, right? Swiping and moving and loading the feed just much more frequently than they might be doing on the traditional desktop version of the website. So nothing is coming to mind that you might have been going to, but please, let's dig into it more.
Yeah. So let's pull Thomas in and start looking at where the app is headed. We've got a number of new features coming in stream at the moment, and some exciting developments that are you know,
Yeah, definitely got some exciting developments. A couple of which I'm not going to talk about. I'm not allowed to talk about yet, which definitely will bring a big impact to the app. But what I can touch on are we've just released the group header in the app, which was really widely received. Well, the app, as far as it's come in functionality, it has got to that point where we now need to start looking at updating the design and keeping up with the trends, and that's the start of that with the group header. So that was the most recent one that just came out. We are also working on right now the custom app header. That is actually very close to being done. We're just tweaking it, and we've actually thrown it in for test purposes into the WordCamp app for it just to have a play with it. There are still some tweaks. It's not ready yet for release to the customers, but it's pretty close. And the custom app header will now allow our customer admins to remove that more button from the bottom tab bar and move it to the top header bar, providing that fifth spot tab space to put an icon or a link. And the other great function that we've added there is we've added 2 more actionable buttons in the header to go along with that. So effectively 3 header buttons that you can have as your profile avatar, your more menu, etc. So that will be. I'm very excited for that one to come myself as well. So that is a very close one. No exact date on when we're going to release that yet. I'm going to hold on to that for a little while, but it's very close.
So I want to talk about one of the big topics that has been happening in the BuddyBoss community for a little while now, and that's TutorLMS. We have launched TutorLMS web integration, and can we say the TutorLMS app integration is in the wind? It's getting close. Let's just discuss a little bit about what that is.
Yeah, so actually we have been working very closely with the TutorLMS team. Our team, especially, I have to say, they've done on the app side, they've done a great job in building the native screens for TutorLMS. So all those TutorLMS customers now, it was very highly asked for and has been over a period of time. And then it's now finally coming to fruition. It is very close as well. And these are now literally in the final days and weeks to figure out with now Tutor any last bits that need tweaking and releasing.
So I think it's important for people to understand we're not talking about a web browser. We're not talking about a PWA. We're not talking about some in-app window. We're talking a complete recreation of the TutorLMS front end inside the BuddyBoss app. This surely is an achievement that we.
Oh, it's a very big achievement. The guys worked really hard, and when we work closely with partners like TutorLMS, you're not always available to each other all the time. Our developers aren't always available to their developers aren't always available because you still have other things going on. So in some parts, we kind of have to just step up and do some of that work ourselves. We have to create that REST API if it's not there. And that's what our guys just went ahead and did. And then Tutor, obviously, they have worked really closely with us to get the last bits in and get it done. So, but it is we are providing those native screens, and that's the bit that really makes a difference over the web fallback to having a native cached page.
So I want to bring Graham in. He's been running this stream for us, making sure that all the signals are getting out everywhere. And obviously, Graham, there's a new journey coming. So TutorLMS is done. We've got group headers coming. We've got, sort of
polls. We've got a couple polls is coming.
polls.
Another very highly asked for on the roadmap, and that's actually in development right now. Should be best part of next month. That will be available to the customers, with no exact date there again. But yeah, pushing the end of next month, we should have polls ready.
And more exciting on top of that, we also have social logging coming very soon. Offload media, so you can offload your images and videos off your site straight, whether it's from the web or from the app. And of course, before the end of the year, live streaming. Something that we've been working hard to secure through a third party. There's going to be a very exciting rest of the year towards what we're adding here.
One of the things that's come up a lot in BuddyBoss conversations of late is custom post types. Now, obviously, WordPress, it's all about custom post types. What are we looking at in the future of the app? Is custom post type something that's on the radar?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this is really interesting. As Thomas mentioned, we've just released the WordCamp unofficial app, right? And this was a 2-week challenge for our team to have some fun and try out 2 new features. One was the custom navigation header, which Thomas mentioned, where we're now moving the More menu up. And the second one was custom post types. And we've had some feedback from some customers say, what's the value of this? Okay. There are many plugins that use custom post types, event plugins, marketplace plugins, directories. Maybe you want to separate blog posts from listings, or blog posts from news articles or reference materials. Custom post types is going to give you the ability to essentially have different landing pages that separates by the post type, right? With different filters, and more importantly, you'll be able to specify what is the title, where is it pulling from, what is the meta one, what's the data underneath there. So in a blog, it might be category, but on a directory, it might be location, or on a marketplace, it could be price, or for sale status, for example. This is going to let you have so much more customization in the app. And that's the big thing for me right now. With the app, it's about increasing customization to the maximum effects, and custom post types just lets that possibilities go beyond just community. It's everything else that helps a community, whether it is events, listings, marketplaces, maybe it's your podcasts, a list of your podcasts, for example, a list of locations. And that's coming out very soon. So we built this inside the WordCamp app. Now it's not for production. We've hacked away to get the kind of understanding of what this would look like, how it would function, and now we need to pretty it up for the customer to use, right, the end user, so that you can use it easily. But it really helped the team understand the full vision of what this would look like in the app, and also Thomas, the product manager, and myself about how we can make that a good customer experience as well. So yeah, that's a huge one. And like I said, it's in the app. It's not properly in the app for production, but there's enough there to give us a fun challenge and also see how effective it can be used.
So where does this leave the BuddyBoss app for the future? Obviously, it was built as a platform to deliver BuddyBoss theme and to build BuddyBoss communities. But what we're seeing in this WordCamp demonstration app is that the BuddyBoss app is much deeper than that. The BuddyBoss app has the ability to bring other styles of app development to WordPress. Now, there's been a whole conversation about headless WordPress for a long time. Would it be fair to say that BuddyBoss is one of the first real applications of headless WordPress in the mobile community?
Absolutely. I would say it's definitely one of the first kind of applications that can be scaled en masse. There are no doubt people have done this headless approach for one-off clients, but there's nothing in the way that we've done it where we have hundreds of live apps or thousands of live apps now at this point on the App Store from one kind of core build. For me, of course, BuddyBoss app, core at its heart is the BuddyBoss platform, its community. But what makes part of the community isn't just the social, it's all the other parts that helps our customers, right? The e-learning, the social learning, the event management for people who run events, the Zoom meetings, the conferences, everything else that forms part of that app needs customization, needs ability for apps to feel and look differently. And so we have to extend that customization where you don't need custom development. In the last year or 2 years, we've had several customers go through our agency and pay for the custom navigation header, specific needs for them. Well, now every customer has what we're about to release as part of the product. And that's the same thing for custom post type support, where they wanted it specifically for one real feature. We're making it that you can use it for every customer across any functionality. And so to me, the app, not now, but over the next year, will become essentially a React Native app builder for WordPress. Now, of course, communities at its core, but for those communities that are in podcasts, why not have a podcast player? For those communities who have a directory listing like Spaces Engine and they want company directories, put it in there. You want a marketplace in your community, or maybe you just want an events, excuse me, if you just want an events plugin or an events app, you could make that all from the same functionality delivered at a very low and affordable price.
So I just wanted to, obviously we've been talking a lot about BuddyBoss App today, but I just wanted to loop back really quickly to our web platform. Obviously, a lot of people are very passionate about that. And we had a shopping list a little while ago: polls, social login, offloading of media, maybe live streaming. But we're talking about the app. Are we also talking about the web platform here for this?
Absolutely. So again, BuddyBoss has two development teams, one on the app, one on the web. Anything that's built for the web is generally always going to be compatible for the app. That's really important to maintain design consistency. So if we have polls for the web, it has to be available on the app. Offloading makes sense across both. Social login makes sense across both. But then in both cases, some of those platforms have unique properties designed for the web or designed for an app. Like in the app, we have bookmarking. It makes perfect sense for the way that the app is handled. And so the custom post type support, you already have that on the web. You don't have it on the app. So we're building some unique features for each property or device type, depending on what the functionality is. But at its core, we will always try to maintain design consistency across web and app and functionality, because that is ultimately the core value of what we provide here at BuddyBoss.
There have been a couple of other things released, and they've kind of slid into the app and platform releases recently. One of the things that obviously we discuss a lot at Rapyd, and a lot of our customers discuss, is performance and questions about, is there hosting suitable for the BuddyBoss app? Is there hosting suitable for BuddyBoss Web? And we've come to understand that the app has more complex requirements. It needs more challenges. Now, I understand that what we've released this week is a bit of a guide, a way for customers to test natively in their website the performance of their hosting, to help them get a bit of a better understanding of the realities.
Yeah,
what have we done there?
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, the app is more resource heavy. All right. There's several reasons for that. One, customers are just using apps more often. You just have to look at your analytics on the app and then look at it on the web. Customers are there for longer, are more engaged, tend to go to more pages. Okay. It's much easier, and you're also reacting quicker. You're swiping, you're moving, switching tabs and everything. You're always going to be a lot more on the go. Push notifications, bringing people back much more frequently. And the fact is, we have it on the go anytime, anywhere. So there's a resource part there, because it's just the behavior of our users. And then obviously with that, the concurrency is also one of those things. Now, we are always working towards improve performance. We did a big jump recently around how our APIs are used in terms of polling, but we have just actually added an update in the BuddyBoss platform. If you do the update today, you'll see a thing called upgrade. You'll say new tab in there. And inside there is a new performance host testing. The idea being is we've worked with WP benchmarks to essentially basically take their benchmark test that will look through your server, compare it against industry standard. And of course, we've got the Rapyd default values of how Rapyd performs as well in there, so that you can actually test your site performance, compare it against the industry standard across any kind of general hosting, but also see Rapyd there as well. And there's a link at the top if you want to go see full breakdowns across the industry as a whole. It gives you a kind of understanding of how well your site's performing on average versus other kind of hosting values, and of course Rapyd, which again, one of the biggest things you're looking there, lowest value is the better score. And as part of that, we've also added our integrations into there. Now, a few people said, why have we added integrations? It's already on the web. We find many customers are not aware of those integrations. And more importantly, like WordCamp, which we're going to for the next couple of days, we want to build those relationships, promote the core integrations more so that everyone knows what we would recommend, what ones are best suited for the product. So right now, this is kind of a lift and shift onto that page, but over the coming weeks, you'll see that thinned out. You'll see that updated, and you'll see more emphasis around what partners we really recommend based on the relationships we have in terms of bug fixing, features, and performance together.
And yeah, I wanted to do a big shout out to Kevin Ohashi, who built WP Performance Tester to help people assess the performance of their platforms. Kevin was gracious enough and said, only too happy for people to be using my source, providing it remains consistent, providing it remains exactly the same source baseline, which means that if you want, you could download and install WP Performance Tester yourself. It's the same source code, it's the same performance evaluations, and you compare that against all of the other performance platforms that he's built. So we didn't recreate anything. We're just making it a little bit easier for people to get a bit more of an understanding of what their site hosting is currently doing, and give them some guidance to understand that when they do move to the app, there are some performance needs that can't be necessarily handled, certainly by a shared hosting or other sort of small scale hosting platforms. We're almost out of time. Again, thanks everybody for joining us today, and I want to thank Thomas for being here for this chat.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thomas's first WordCamp. He's in for an exciting journey over the next couple of days. Again, meeting the community. Anything you're looking forward to?
I have to say, when you're in the WordPress world, if you haven't been to a WordCamp, you can take the whole community part for granted because you're just seeing competitive plugins constantly, trying to beat each other and grow their products. But when you actually turn up to one of these, what was actually pretty cool was we were at the Contributor Day today, is everybody's wearing their brand, but they're not segregated. They're all mixing in. They're all having lunch with each other. Yes, they're competitive products, but it doesn't feel like that. They are all representing their brand and they're out there enjoying it and sharing and talking. And I think that's the bit that I felt was quite impressive. Like when you see everybody there and they're all representing, but it's fun. It is that community that Phil touched on, and I definitely am looking forward to the next couple of days to see what else comes of it, and actually get involved as well as a product manager at BuddyBoss. Start doing some networking and meeting other product managers from the, again, competitive plugins, but really it's not as, they are still in all as one in one community to hopefully get some ideas to help be better at BuddyBoss. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that I've had people ask me in the past, I've heard of these WordCamps, or I've heard of WordCamp or BuddyBoss meetups, but I'm not a developer, or I'm not a coder, or I'm not, I just want to build websites. I think it's important that people understand that this community is there to help you. And there are meetup groups in just about every city in the world, and there's probably people there who would only be too happy to lend a hand or give a shout out. If you have the opportunity sometime, I'd recommend it. Pop along to one. Again, there's probably some free pizza or a free. I think there was free wine on offer at one I went to recently. I think it's be part of that community. Think about giving back. And people don't need to be developers to give back.
No, I'm not a developer myself. I came from the side of things, and actually, even before then, I was getting involved with the whole app development from scratch, building native apps. Not myself, obviously, as not a developer, but I was having to go out there and source teams to be able to do this. It was an extremely high cost, which then was a failure point to me, because where do you come up with that kind of cash unless you're already a big business? So, and that's how I then found BuddyBoss, and then fell into the WordPress world. Luckily, I had the design background, so it has been quite a smooth ride, working with BuddyBoss up to the product management side of things. But now I don't have to go to WordPress, the WordCamps, feeling like an imposter because I'm not a developer, and these guys are fantastic with all the stuff that they build, but they don't ever look at you like you're an imposter. So get stuck in, get involved, make friends, and I think that is probably the best way to do it.
100%. Also, Graham, thanks for being here today. Thanks for being on the back of this podcast. We're sitting in a hotel library area at the
Palace.
Turin Palace Hotel, and they were graceful, sort of gracious enough to say, "Sure, take over this space." And nice, quiet ambience to do this webinar today. And again, we're gracious for that, and we thank them. And again, also, Philip, great to see you here at WordCamp as well. Any last thoughts?
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I'm excited as well. And I think that one thing I also want to say about WordCamps is that it's a lot of learning as well, right? Community means learning, and there are many talks and presentations from WordPress to business to mental health to any topic you can think of. And so it's really, really great. I'm looking forward to all of that.
I haven't checked the schedule this WordCamp, but the last two WordCamps I've been to have had a yoga class running. Another one had a massage.
Yeah, they've got yoga, they've got city tours, and again, for anyone who's never been to a WordCamp, they are informal. They're community organised events. Okay,
So we're the contributor day today.
Yeah,
And there was a kids session.
oh wow,
People had brought their kids along. Like obviously it's a work day here in local community. They actually painted. There was a whole kids session during the contributor day there. Some of the parents were contributing to various things in the contributor day, and the kids were out having their own WordCamp experience. So it is a community, and one that I think get involved in. Grow your communities as well. Again, thank you, everybody. It's been a pleasure again to host another webinar. We've got another one coming up in a couple of weeks. We'll provide a little bit more information about that soon. We're going to be talking to the team from Monarchs about some of the realities of malware, the realities of securing WordPress sites. So keep an eye out for that one. We'll be announcing some more information on that in the coming weeks. Again, thanks everybody. Thanks Graham. Thanks Thomas. Thanks Philip. And we'll see you all again soon.